Hi everyone, here's Malwina Stach and I am here with amazing Armin Risi. And hi Armin.
Hello.
Really nice that you agreed for this little interview. I would like to ask you a little bit about lucid dreaming because I know you have a great knowledge about this in Egypt and different cultures maybe as well.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to share with us a little bit of your informations about lucid dreaming? Or if there's anything specific you'd like to say about it, share.
Yeah. I mean, dreaming usually happens when we sleep. Mm-hmm. So sleep is a special state of consciousness. Actually, it's one of the natural states of consciousness we have, but usually we don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's just a way of practicing. So, of course, sleep means the connection between the soul and the astral body and the gross body is loosened. Okay. That's why the Greek even called sleep the little brother of death.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sometimes we even say the dead people, they sleep.
Okay.
So that's a poetic expression, but it shows how close it is. So in ancient Egypt, the mystery schools, advanced mystery schools, they practice, or they trained and practice for extra out-of-body travels,
Mm-hmm.
astral projection, astral journeys, out-of-body experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So actually consciously induced near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So because as soon as we are out of the body, we watch with different kind of eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole world looks different. And we see the material world, but the physical world doesn't see us. Okay. We are invisible to them, but they see them. So there's an interconnection between the astral level and the physical level. Of course, they can leave that plane as well, and then they don't see the physical anymore.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's this famous book of Ibn Alexander,
Mm-hmm.
Proof of Heaven. In his near-death experience, he was immediately on a level away from the body. He never saw his own body. He immediately found himself in the astral plane of the earth, which was not that nice, but then he immediately progressed. Okay. So with this man Ibn Alexander, I think he's a reincarnated initiate who agreed to the soul plan that he will dive into materialistic science, becoming a professor at Harvard Medical School, but then at one point his knowledge is reactivated. And then he just went through the initiatory process again, but in a modern way. We have no school, so he just received a mysterious illness which threw him into coma within hours. Okay. So this is the high level. Only the initiates did that, but the initiates, they had also, like the priests, they had an intention also to help other people and give other people a kind of similar experience. So there's the temple sleep. So even in the temple nowadays in Egypt, we find parts in books of Karnak. These were monasteries, in a sense, not monasteries, but they were mystery schools. So the initiates were living there, and they have compartments where even where nowadays people speculate, but I think it's true, that these were guest rooms. So people could go into the sacred geometry place and sleep there. So of course they are introduced, they do the meditation, and then of course they say, and whatever you will dream this night will be very special, because you are sleeping out of the normal condition, you are not at home, not in your home. So this is an ordinary dream. Mm-hmm. And of course the lucid dream is either a natural gift, mm-hmm. or you can train it again. Yes.
I'm a lucid dreaming teacher.
Yeah.
So I know it is possible to train because many of my students had that experience. But also, if you could tell us, in Egypt, what they were using lucid dreaming for and out-of-body experiences for, what it was giving them, what's the benefit of it?
It's the personal experience. It was a science. It was a completely different way of science than we have now. Nowadays, science is reductionist and materialistic. So just trying to what is the word? To make everything objective and able to analyze and cut in pieces and reduce it to its parts and parcels. So this is modern science, and but there's empirical, spiritually empirical science, which is always subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So subjective is not bad. Everything in our life is subjective. Even if you eat, your eating experience is subjective and can be very different for someone else.
Of course.
So what to speak of perceiving higher realities?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the subjective science where everyone for himself sees that the world is multidimensional.
Yes.
They know it,
Mm-hmm.
but once you see it, it's different. It's like falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
People read about it, but once you have made the experience yourself, you don't need the books anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or near-death experience.
Mm-hmm.
You can read so many books about near-death experiences. They are very important, but once you make the experience yourself, you can say, whatever these people wrote was nice, but it's no comparison to the experience itself. Alexander said, writing about my experience is like typing on a computer with half the keyboard.
Okay.
It's just half of the letters are missing. What do I write?
Yeah.
So of course he did a good job in describing it, but of course it's never the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the teachers were preparing the people, the disciples, for their experience. Then they knew what they were training for, but they also knew once I make the experience, it's completely different. So it's just the personal illumination, the personal knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but then of course you can tap higher sources of information,
Mm-hmm.
because the higher world is full of entities, full of beings, created beings. So you can get information, you can knowledge, you can inspiration, you can channel for other people who don't did the practice. So and yeah, it's an entire kind of science. All the science, ancient science, psychogeometry, was received in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So they were elevated in the astral body, or even physically elevated into the higher realms of creation, and coming back and bringing the knowledge people needed. For example, all the sacred geometry knowledge was received like that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I also had images in my dreams, and also by chanting Om, I saw how the mandalas were forming from 2D to 3D, etc.
Yeah.
And then only after that I found out that sacred geometry exists, that is something like that exists.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to paint them even before I knew.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
So there's Patrick Flanagan, for example. Patrick Flanagan, he was a esoteric researcher, or very open-minded researcher, and he found out that the chanting of Om creates the Shri mantra, Shri yantra.
Mm-hmm. Something like that I saw in my dream.
Yeah.
It was lucid
So
dream.
it was so he could reproduce it mechanically with the Om, and it's exactly what the Indians painted and designed, but without the machinery. So how did they see the vibration of Om without the machinery? Yeah, that's higher perception, and it's very precise. So
very exciting.
yeah.
So, would you recommend learning lucid dreaming now for our generation?
Those who feel the vocation, it's a very practical way of expanding your consciousness and your perception, because you sleep anyway.
Yes.
So you can add this dimension, and it's also very clean and very sattvic way, because you don't need chemicals, don't need drugs. You can induce it with natural drugs,
way.
of course. That's a shamanic way.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that. It's not I never touched anything of that. I don't have a vocation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I read what the people who do it, what they see.
Yeah.
So I'm profiting from their experience, because it's not my way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a way, and this of course is a very, as a sattvic way.
Yeah.
If
You can say
you know
organic
the word.
way.
Organic way, sattvic way, a very clean way.
Mm-hmm.
So and also not hardly any danger.
Mm-hmm.
So with drugs, it's always difficult. So of course it's a wonderful way to expand the consciousness. I'm still trying to remember my dreams in the morning, so the real dreams. So lucid dreaming is not my practice or my capacity.
So I invite you for my courses, definitely.
So I learned,
Yeah, definitely.
So,
you are my guest.
Yeah, so it's those who feel the vocation. It's also no chance. Usually people who are fascinated by that, they know it. So they have practiced in previous lifetimes, and that was also we have the mystery schools of thousands of years. So we have many adepts and disciples and masters from that time. So they also, another advantage or reason why they invest so much energy was, I speak from our time, they say now we have time. We have nothing else to do. We have an entire lifetime for this. There will be a time in the future when we don't have time.
Okay.
So now we put all this knowledge and this practice in my spiritual bank account, and later on I can draw from it.
Okay.
So they were investing in future lifetimes when we don't have the time and the peace and the tranquility. It's so much stress nowadays. Everyone has to work. Money is a factor always. So now we can just tap into the work we already did.
Okay.
So that's very practical. That's why we did it earlier. So here we are again.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for
for
being
your
my
work.
guest. And thank you everyone, and see you on my other videos. And check my page malwinastach.com and my Facebook fan page as well, Malwina Stach. Thank you very much. Bye.